June 6, 1944, 160,000 Allied troops stormed the beaches of Normandy in the largest amphibious invasion in human history. Above them, 9,000 Allied aircraft dominate the skies, while German defenders scramble to repel the massive assault. It's the moment that will decide the fate of Western Europe. But let's change one thing. Slicing through the pre-dawn darkness at 50,000 feet is something that shouldn't exist for another 45 years. A B-2 Spirit stealth bomber from 1989, carrying 40,000 pounds of precision-guided death and armed with technology that makes it invisible to every radar system on Earth. So what happens when the world's most advanced strategic bomber arrives at history's most crucial battle? Can this single aircraft change the entire course of D-Day? Or will 1940s warfare prove that numbers still matter more than technology? This isn't your grandfather's heavy bomber. The B-2 Spirit looks like it was designed by aliens who really understand aerodynamics. Its flying wing design gives it a wingspan of 172 feet, but stretches only 69 feet from nose to tail, creating a profile that defies everything 1944 knows about aircraft design. Here's what this technological marvel brings to Normandy. A radar cross-section of 0.1 square meters, making it virtually invisible to World War II radar systems that can barely track conventional bombers. We're talking about stealth technology so advanced that the B-2 appears as nothing more than a bird on primitive 1940s radar screens. The bomber carries enough internal ordnance to level entire city blocks, precision-guided munitions that can thread the needle through a window from 15 miles away, joint direct attack munitions that use GPS satellites that won't exist for another 30 years. And here's the kicker. It can deliver all of this death from altitudes where German fighters can't even reach it, cruising at 50,000 feet, while Messerschmitt 109s struggle to climb past 35,000. But even this flying supercomputer faces challenges in 1944. There are no GPS satellites to guide its smart weapons, no data links to coordinate with Allied forces, no spare parts when something breaks. The crew has to rely on 1940s navigation and their own training while operating a machine that's decades ahead of its time. Against this technological terror stands the Atlantic Wall, Hitler's fortress Europe stretching from Norway to the Spanish border. At Normandy, German defenders have turned every beach into a killing field. Artillery positions built into concrete bunkers that can withstand direct hits from battleship guns, machine gun nests with interlocking fields of fire, thousands of obstacles designed to shred landing craft, and behind it all, Rommel's mobile reserves waiting to crush any breakthrough. The Luftwaffe might be outnumbered, but they're not helpless. German aircraft are scattered across occupied Europe, including seasoned pilots flying Focke-Wulf 190s and Me-109s. These aren't the green recruits of 1945. These are combat veterans who've been fighting for 4 years. Plus, the Germans have their own technological surprises. The first operational jet fighter, the Me-260, is already in development. Anti-aircraft guns that can fill the sky with deadly flak, and radar systems like the Würzburg that, while primitive by modern standards, can still track large formations. At 0200 hours, the B-2 begins its approach over the English Channel. Its stealth coating absorbs German radar waves like a black hole swallowing light. On German radar screens, nothing appears. No massive bomber formation, no warning, just empty sky. The aircraft's crew studies their targets through advanced sensors, that can see in complete darkness. Coastal artillery positions light up on their displays like Christmas trees. Every bunker, every gun emplacement, every command post mapped with surgical precision. The first German radar operator to notice anything unusual squints at his scope. There's a tiny blip, barely visible, moving impossibly fast at an impossible altitude. He calls his commander, but by the time anyone responds, the contact has vanished. It's probably just atmospheric interference. Nobody pays attention to ghosts on radar screens. That's exactly what the B-2 is counting on. As dawn breaks over Normandy, Allied landing craft begin their final approach to the beaches. German defenders man their positions, expecting waves of bombers and fighters. What they don't expect is precision death, falling from an empty sky. The first bomb falls on Pointe du Hoc at precisely 0530 hours. German artillery crews manning the massive 105mm guns never see it coming. One moment they're scanning the horizon for Allied ships. The next moment, their entire position erupts in a fireball that can be seen from 20 miles away. The JDAM guided bomb, weighing 2,000 pounds, punches through reinforced concrete like it's made of paper. 6 artillery pieces that could have shredded landing craft are reduced to twisted metal in seconds. But here's the problem. Without GPS guidance, the B-2's smart weapons aren't so smart anymore. The crew has to rely on inertial navigation and visual targeting, turning their precision-guided munitions into very expensive dumb bombs, still deadly, but not the surgical strikes they're designed for. The bomber's crew adjusts quickly, using their advanced targeting systems to manually guide weapons onto target. It's not perfect, but it's devastatingly effective against 1940s fortifications. German commanders across Normandy start receiving panicked radio reports. Artillery positions are exploding without warning. Coastal defense guns are being destroyed by invisible attacks. Communication centers vanish in massive explosions. Nobody can explain what's happening. Radio chatter becomes increasingly frantic as more installations disappear from the airwaves. At Omaha Beach, the most heavily defended landing zone, German machine gun nests have been turning the surf red for decades in war games. These concrete bunkers are built to withstand anything the Allies can throw at them, or so they think. The B-2 lines up for its next attack run, targeting the WN-72 strongpoint that overlooks the entire beach. A single 2,000-pound bomb screams down from the stratosphere and punches into the bunker complex. The explosion is so massive that Allied troops still 5 miles offshore see the flash. When the smoke clears, the entire German position has simply ceased to exist. Machine guns that could have mowed down thousands of Allied soldiers are buried under tons of concrete and earth. The approaches to Omaha Beach, previously a killing field, suddenly become survivable. German radar operators at Douvres finally pick up something concrete. A single aircraft, flying at impossible altitude, moving at speeds that make no sense. They vector every available fighter towards the contact, but the Me-109s and Focke-Wulf 190s climbing desperately toward 35,000 feet might as well be trying to catch lightning in a bottle. The B-2 cruises serenely at 50,000 feet, completely untouchable. Oberst Priller, commanding the only 2 operational Luftwaffe fighters in the immediate area, receives the scramble order. His pilots strap into their Focke-Wulf 190s and tear down the runway, climbing as fast as their engines will take them. At 25,000 feet, they spot something impossible. A triangular shadow moving against the clouds, unlike any aircraft they've ever seen. Priller orders an attack, but his fighters are still 25,000 feet below their target and climbing slowly. The German pilots empty their ammunition at maximum range, hoping for a lucky hit. Their 20-meter cannon shells arc uselessly through empty air, falling thousands of feet short of their target. Meanwhile, the B-2 continues its methodical destruction of coastal defenses, immune to everything 1944 can throw at it. At German Army Group B headquarters, Field Marshal Rommel stares at reports that make no sense. His Atlantic Wall is crumbling under attacks from aircraft that don't appear on radar. Communication with forward positions is being systematically severed. His mobile reserves, positioned to counterattack any Allied breakthrough, find their assembly areas under bombardment from an enemy they cannot see or fight. The Desert Fox, master of mobile warfare, faces an opponent operating by rules that don't exist yet. Every tactical manual, every lesson learned in 4 years of combat, becomes useless against technology that might as well be magic. When the smoke finally clears over Normandy, the B-2 spirit would have fundamentally altered the most important battle of World War II. German coastal defenses that took years to build are reduced to smoking craters in hours. Artillery positions that could have slaughtered thousands of Allied troops are silenced before the first landing craft hits the beach. The Atlantic Wall, Hitler's impregnable fortress, proves completely helpless against technology from another era. But here's the thing. Even a single B-2 bomber has limits. 40,000 pounds of ordnance sounds like a lot until you're facing an entire army. The bomber would devastate key defensive positions and save countless Allied lives, but it couldn't single-handedly win D-Day. That still required 160,000 brave soldiers willing to storm fortified beaches under enemy fire. What the stealth bomber would have done is turn the bloodiest day in Allied history into something far more manageable. Omaha Beach, which historically saw over 2,000 casualties, might have been crossed with minimal losses. The entire Normandy campaign could have been shortened by months, potentially ending World War II before 1945 even arrived. So what do you think would have happened? Would one aircraft from the future have changed everything? Or would the fog of war have found a way to level the playing field?